joining me back here on my channel. I am trying out a new video today. I've had this idea in my mind for a little while, and I have been once again super into reading. So I thought about doing like a monthly kind of like book update, or like monthly reads, what I'm reading, what I've read, kind of like little mini reviews on them. So I thought I would start with May. I know I'm late. It's like June 8th already, but I was in Virginia at the kind of turn of the month, and I finally just got my May favorites video finished and uploading, and I will link that in the description box. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, please go check it out. So I figured I would just go ahead and do it, and then we'll start like on track in June. This is still kind of on track, like for it to be the 8th day and I'm now filming it, that's pretty good. So I have quite a few books to talk about. I'm going to try to make this as short and sweet as possible, but I do love books. I like to talk about books. I love to give like good insight on books. I'm going to try not to give any spoilers. I'll kind of like let you know if I'm going to say anything before I say it, so you know to like skip that part. So, and I am doing this with a playful puppy, so you're going to hear lots of toys squeaking in the background because she has her favorite toys and she finally figured out how to find the squeaker in them. She's a squeaker seeker. So, very first book I'm going to talk about is called The Fates Divide by Veronica Roth. This is actually the second book in the series, and I did read the first one also, Carve the Mark, but it was a friend's that I borrowed, so I don't actually have that copy, but I ended up buying this one because she didn't have the second one, and I really wanted to read it. So if you have not read her other series, it's called Divergent, and this series, the Carve the Mark and the Fates Divide books, are kind of along the same lines. It's a lot of the same kind of concept and a lot of the same style writing. So you could do either one first. I feel like the Fates Divide and, well, Carve the Mark and the Fates Divide, they definitely have a different aspect to them and they're a little more in depth, but I love the Divergent series. I read that a while ago. I read all of them. I think I've read it twice now. I really love the Divergent series, and I really love her writing. She is, I think it's considered young adult, but it doesn't have, it's got some of the romance portion stuff in it, but it also doesn't give you like all of like the happy scenes or happy endings or happy, like it's not all happy like sunshines and rainbows, if that makes sense, which I really love about her writing. I love that it gives you an equal amount of both. So both Carve the Mark and the Fates Divide, I highly recommend. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on them if you have read them. I really, like I said, enjoy her writing. So these were an easy read for me. Didn't take me too long to finish. So, I mean, I'll give you a little synopsis, just what it says on the cover so that it doesn't kind of ruin anything. So Fates Divide, like I said, is a continuation of Carve the Mark. And when you read Carve the Mark, it's a story about, it's about two characters that are ruled by their fates. Their fates meaning what the oracles have predicted of their future. So kind of like what you would assume the fates are. The fates, once determined, are inescapable. Akos fell in love with Syrah. In spite of his fate, he will die in service to Syrah's family. And I'm probably not pronouncing these names right, so I apologize in advance. But it's about a barbaric war and about like lands that are divided, and of course they're from opposite kind of opposing areas. So a really good book. It's got some really great conflict in it. And I love that she goes in depth and kind of explains everything for you and makes sure like you get the gist of it. So highly, highly recommend both of those books. Another book that I started to read, I was in Barnes & Noble with a friend and I saw this and I read the synopsis on the back. Sonia was born with a rare gift to feel what those around her feel, both physically and emotionally, a gift she's kept hidden from the Empire for 17 long years. But when a tragic accident pushes her into the spotlight, Sonia is hauled off to the palace and forced to serve the Emperor as his sovereign overseer. Tasked with sensing the intentions of would-be assassins, Sonia is under constant pressure to protect the Emperor. But Sonia's power is untamed and reckless, and she can't always decipher where other people's impulses end and her own begin. As she struggles to wrangle her abilities, Sonia seeks refuge in her tenuous alliances with the charming yet volatile Emperor Valko and his idealistic younger brother Prince Anton. But when threats of revolution pit the two brothers against each other, Sonia must choose which brother to trust and which to betray. In a palace full of dark impulses and wearing emotions, Sonia fears that the biggest danger to the Empire maybe herself. So, love triangle between two brothers. I was not impressed, honestly. I did not finish this book. I think I only made it to... Oh my gosh. I only made it in like 5 chapters. Not even 5. I don't even know that I finished the 5th chapter. I think I only made it into 4. It was just bad. It was just bad. The character is super shallow. You don't get, like, Sonya, she's just kind of an idiot. And I thought that I would identify with the main character because I'm such an emotional person and I am so empathetic. And I was like, oh, this is like the perfect book for me. But it's just so bad. The storyline could be really good, except for the love triangle with the brothers. That just seems kind of ridiculous to me, I guess. But because normally when you read these types of books, it's a love triangle with like 2 enemies, not 2 brothers. So that portion was just kind of like, eh. And then she gives Emperor Valko, like, you see him as kind of like this monster in the beginning, but then like Sonya immediately starts like feeling for him, which it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I did not like it. I would not recommend it. If you would like to read this, I will happily send it to you. Just comment below and I can message you and get your address and you can have it. I was just super not impressed. Did not finish it. Like I said, only got like maybe 5 chapters in and I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So Burning Glass, do not recommend. Let's see, what else? Okay, so one book that I started reading that I obviously have not finished yet because it's huge, but one that I'm currently reading. Well, I'm not currently reading it, but I started it, and the only reason I actually started it is because I finished a book on the way back from Virginia, and this is the only other one I had with me. I didn't bring the second book in the other series, so I started this one. But this is actually the 5th book in the Outlander series. I have read all the other 4. I was taking kind of a palate cleanser before I started this one after finishing the 4th one, because if you guys have read any of the Outlander series, I don't know if Diana Gabaldon has written anything else. She goes in depth. I mean, like, she describes everything, which is partly why the book is so thick. She describes everything. Like, she paints you the entire, it's like you're watching a movie. She describes the colors and the feelings and the different characters, and it goes back and forth between different characters and their perspectives of the situations. She goes in depth. So The Fiery Cross is one of the biggest book in the series, if not the biggest. I would have to do like a page count, I'm not sure. And it starts off complex from the beginning. Like, I'm only 123 pages in, which is chapter 8, and there's already conflict and you know, like resolution and character development, and it just, she's constantly introducing you to new people also, which is why I never lose interest with these series. It's just hard to finish because it is so long and so in depth. Now, I will admit that I am sometimes a grazer. I will read only the text, but if I find that not only the text, only the conversations, but I skim the paragraphs that don't have conversation in them so that I don't miss something. And if I do feel like I'm missing something, then I go back and reread. So that's why I finish books a little bit faster, and that's why her series is pretty easy for me to read, because I can kind of skip over the parts that I don't feel like I need to absolutely read. So The Fiery Cross is one that I have started and will continue to read. I'm just really caught up in this other series that I'm going to talk about next because it's amazing, but I love her stuff. She also has Outlander, the show, which she has creative input on, so the story stays really true to, or the show stays really true to the story and the books and what was written, and there's minor changes. And I do really love reading about the history of Scotland too. I didn't know any of this, and I'm not sure if it's 100% factual, but I absolutely love reading about it, and I love the concept of the time traveling, and it's just absolutely amazing. The characters in the show I could do with a different Claire. I really like the actress, and I think she's really great. I just feel like sometimes she portrays Claire as more angry than Claire is. She yells a lot more, which You know, with the writer, with Diana Gabaldon being there kind of talking to her, then I'm assuming that's how they want the character portrayed, and maybe I'm just reading it differently. But for me, for my take on the book, Claire just doesn't seem so angry all the time. So definitely recommend the series. Outlander is the first one in the series, if you didn't know that. And this is the 5th one. So if you guys have read it or watched Outlander, I would love to hear your comments, because Sam Heughan, woo! Ooh, in a kilt too. Yeesh. Okay, so the last books that I want to talk about, I started reading this series probably like 2 years ago, and I started with the very first book, and I got like 2 chapters in, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know if I wasn't in the mindset for it, or I wasn't as into like fantasy as I am now, because I'm really into like vampires and fairies, and this book is about fae and kind of like the sci-fi like fantasy stuff. So I started reading it, A Court of Thorns and Roses, like I said, probably about 2 years ago, and just put it down. I wasn't super into it, and I actually ended up with 2 copies because I forgot that I had bought it and then bought another one. So if you have not read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and after I finish talking about it, it sounds interesting to you and you would like to read it, I will send my extra copy to the first person that comments below, because I have 2 copies and I would love to pass on the book love. So if you haven't read it and you would like to, and it sounds interesting, let me know and I'll send you my extra copy. So then the new book came out, A Court of Starlight and something. I'm sorry, I can't remember what the name of it is because I'm not there yet. But the new book just came out recently, and everybody was in an uproar again about it and talking about how amazing it was. And I was like, all right, let me try it. I needed the palate cleanser between Outlander, so I went and picked up the first book. And oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, I can't, I'll read you the back. When 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a beast-like creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous, magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not an animal, but Tamlin, one of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled their world. As Feyre dwells on his estate, her feelings for Tamlin transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie and warning she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But an ancient, wicked shadow over the fairylands is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. So, absolutely love the book. Love the storyline. The character development is amazing. It goes a lot into the backstories. It tells you a lot about the people. The only complaint that I would have is Feyre is kind of an idiot. And I know that I say that a lot, but for her, it just, and not so much in this one, more so in the second one, which I'll talk about in a second, because that's what I'm currently reading. She just makes some really bad decisions, and it's kind of like, from this perspective, you know, the reader's left going, what are you doing? Like, no, why would you do that? Why would you listen? Why would you react that way? But I guess I can understand from the story standpoint why she would. So she is growing on me. I'm feeling a little bit better about her in the second book. But it's just a lot of times in the book you're left like, nah, I don't think that's how it would have happened. But really good storyline, a really amazing book, 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. Absolutely, absolutely love it. It was so good. And I'm currently reading A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second book in the series. And then the third book is A Court of Wings and Ruin. And then, like I said, that's the third book. The fourth book is A Court of Frost and Starlight. Got it. Look out. A Court of Frost and Starlight, or Starlight and Frost, whatever. So I really, really am enjoying this book. The character development behind her and Rysand, which is one of the other characters, it's just really good. And you kind of get away from Tamlin, and I'm gonna say that it does have some emotional abuse in it. So if that is a trigger for you, then it might not be a book series that you want to read. Kind of like emotional and mental abuse. Not in a very like in your face kind of way, but you can just tell that he's manipulating her and that she's being manipulated. And that might be hard for some people to read, just because it does kind of have that tone of she's being abused and manipulated in a way. So if that's a trigger for you, I would just put that warning out there. just know that it's coming in portions of the book, more towards the beginning of this one than in the other one. So if that's something that is hard for you, then, you know, just know that it's in there and know your limits. So this one is a continuation of the storyline. It's kind of after the big conflict in A Court of Thorns and Roses. And you get to see more of the other characters. And I think from what I can tell from the titles of the books, I think that she kind of journeys around the entire land of the Fae. And you get to see the different courts. So like A Court of Mist and Fury so far, which I'm on page 187, chapter 17. So far, they have only been in A Court of Night. And you'll learn in A Court of Thorns and Roses, and in the beginning of this one, there's different courts and they're named different things. So the first one, she's mainly in the Spring Court. This one, she's in the Night Court. I'm assuming Wings and Ruined is going to be in like the Autumn Court or something like that. And then Frost and Starlight is probably the Winter Court. So I like that it kind of travels around and tells you different things about the lands. And Sarah Moss does a really great job of kind of explaining everything. And she not only tells you about where Feyre is in the story, but about the entire Fae lands and what they're like and what the fairies are like and kind of all of that jazz. She goes really in depth. So absolutely love this series. Like I said, A Court of Thorns and Roses, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Highly recommend this one so far. I will probably do a full review of it in June. Hi, Luna. I'll probably do a full review of it in June when I actually finish the book, and we'll probably be reading the other one by then, but I have been really into reading right now. So I'm watching Luna because she's knocking my pile of books over, the little butthead. I have been really into reading right now, so I'm kind of blasting through books. So I would also love to hear your guys' recommendations. If you have any books that you've read recently that you really loved and think that I might enjoy also, that would be really cool. Like I said, if you're interested in reading A Court of Thorns and Roses or Burning Glass, even though I don't recommend it, it might be somebody else's cup of tea. Leave a comment down below and I will message you and get your contact information and I can send these out to you and then you can let me know what you think about them. Also, if you guys have a Goodreads account, I would love to add you on Goodreads. I'm constantly looking for new people to follow. It's where I get a lot of my kind of idea of what books I want to read next. Based off of recommendations, and I'm also in a group called the Llama Library, which I will add in the description box down below. So yeah, so those are my May reads. Hopefully I will get the June one up quickly and keep on kind of like this reading kick that I'm on. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please click that red button below and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I will leave, like I said, my Goodreads information in the description box. I would love to give you a follow back and just get some inspiration for books. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Bye.